Let me tell you something that most women are too afraid to say out loud. You don't need to chase a man. You need to control the space he breathes in. Yes, I said it. Control his mind, and his heart follows. This isn't manipulation, this is magnetism. This is power. And every smart, self-respecting woman should know how to use it. Because love isn't about losing yourself. It's about making him never want to lose you. Ready to own that power? Let's begin. Let's talk about mystery. That secret magnetic force every powerful woman carries, not in her looks, not in her words, but in her silence, in her restraint, in the way she chooses what to reveal and what to hold back. Mystery is your magic. It's your superpower in a world that constantly tries to expose everything about you. Your feelings, your past, your every move on social media. But when you master the art of being unpredictable, of not letting every emotion fall out of your mouth, you become the woman he can't stop thinking about when the room goes quiet. You see, people crave answers. The human brain is wired for completion. That's why cliffhangers in movies keep us up at night. That's why we reread old texts, hoping to decode the emotion behind them. The same psychological trigger happens when a woman becomes a beautiful question mark in a man's life. She tells just enough to spark his interest, but never everything. She leaves a sentence unfinished, a story untold, a glance unexplained. That's not manipulation. That's elegance. That's brilliance. That's power. Think about the women who stand out in movies, in boardrooms, or even in your personal life. The ones who don't speak much, but when they do, every word lands with weight. The ones who aren't constantly your feelings, your past, your every move on social media. But when you master the art of being unpredictable, of not letting every emotion fall out of your mouth, you become the woman he can't stop thinking about when the room goes quiet. You see, people crave answers. The human brain is wired for completion. That's why cliffhangers in movies keep us up at night. That's why we reread old texts, hoping to decode the emotion behind them. The same psychological trigger happens when a woman becomes a beautiful question mark in a man's life. She tells just enough to spark his interest, but never everything. She leaves a sentence unfinished, a story untold, a glance unexplained. That's not manipulation. That's elegance. That's brilliance. That's power. Think about the women who stand out in movies, in boardrooms, or even in your personal life. The ones who don't speak much, but when they do, every word lands with weight. The ones who aren't constantly available, not because they're playing games, but because they genuinely have a life so rich, so full, that chasing someone is the last thing on their mind. Those are the women who live with mystery. They don't tell you every detail about their day. They don't share their insecurities with just anyone. And that self-containment, that sacred inner world, that's what makes men obsess. There's a girl who wakes up every day and posts every emotion she feels online. And then there's the woman who wakes up, handles her chaos, fixes her crown, and posts nothing. Guess which one has men wondering, what's going on in her world? The power of not telling everyone everything is divine. When you give less, you hold more. Daily life gives you this power every single day, and most people waste it. Say you're on a first date. He asks you about your last relationship. Most people rush to explain how it ended, who did what, how broken they were. But you smile, look him in the eye and say, "It taught me a lot, But that's a story for another time. Just like that, you plant a seed in his mind. He'll think about it. He'll wonder. He'll want that another time. Why? Because you didn't just answer a question. You created curiosity. You became a plot twist in his life. Even in friendships or at work, mystery sets the powerful apart. When you don't announce your every move, you protect your growth. You don't need to tell people you're starting a business. You just show them the results. You don't need to explain why you walked away from someone. You just walk and let them sit in the silence of your absence. Because mystery isn't just about romance. It's about self-respect. It's about knowing that your life story doesn't belong to everyone. It's a privilege to hear your truth. And not everyone has earned that privilege. You become magnetic when you become unpredictable. That doesn't mean you hide who you are. It means you reveal yourself slowly, with dignity, with discernment. Like a fine novel that only reveals the ending after deep investment. Not everyone deserves your first page. Some haven't earned the cover. And darling, you're not just a book. You're a classic, timeless, and unreadable to those who skim. Mystery doesn't mean being cold, it means being intentional. It means knowing that the more someone earns, the more they value. When you give too much too soon, people consume you like fast food. But when you move like a rare vintage, unrushed, graceful, layered, you become the addiction they can't quit. So let them wonder. Let them wait. Let them realize that the most beautiful woman isn't the one who's loudest in the room, but the one whose silence echoes in every corner of their mind. Confidence is not about wearing designer heels, having perfect skin, or posting flawless selfies. Real confidence is silent. It doesn't beg for attention. It commands it. It's the kind of energy that enters a room before you even say a word. And that kind of confidence, it doesn't come from applause. It comes from knowing who the hell you are, even when no one else claps. There's a difference between a woman who walks into a room and a woman who arrives. One is present, the other is powerful. And what makes the difference? That invisible armor of self-belief. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. A woman aligned with her truth, her worth, and her presence doesn't need to announce it. The room shifts for her. Picture this. You're walking into a meeting full of people who doubt you. They've already underestimated you, assumed you're just another pretty face, or too young to lead. Most people would shrink. They'd second guess their every move, but not you. You walk in with your head high, eyes steady, every step telling a story. I belong here. Whether you see it yet or not, that's your problem. And trust me, those who doubted you will feel that energy before you even speak. Confidence is cultivated in silence. It's built in those moments when no one is watching. It's forged when you're crying at 2 a.m., but still show up for yourself in the morning. It's grown when you take yourself out for coffee, book the trip alone, wear the dress no one else would dare to wear. Not for attention, but because it makes you feel alive. That's what confidence is. A decision to back yourself unapologetically. In daily life, confidence is tested everywhere. At the gym, when you don't look like everyone else, but you show up anyway. At the family dinner, when people question your choices, but you sit there, unshaken. That date when he tries to test your boundaries and you smile and say, I don't compromise myself. If that's too much, you're not enough. That's the kind of confidence that leaves men speechless. That's the kind of confidence that people remember. Let's talk about voice. Not just how you speak, but what you speak into existence. A confident woman doesn't speak to impress. She speaks with intention. She doesn't need to prove her intelligence in every conversation. She listens. She watches. And when she talks, people lean in. Because it's rare. Because it's real. Because when she says something, it matters. You'll notice her at a party. She's not loud. She's not trying to be the center of attention. But somehow, all eyes go to her. Why? Because her energy doesn't compete. It radiates. She laughs fully. She listens deeply. She doesn't need to be chosen. She chooses. That's confidence. Confidence is in how you sit. Back straight. Chin up. Not because you're trying to be seen, but because you know you're worthy of being seen. The most powerful women in history, the ones who shook the world, weren't always the loudest, but they were always the most certain. Certain in their purpose, certain in their presence, certain in their power. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to stop waiting for their permission to believe in yourself. So next time you walk into a room, don't wonder who will like you. Don't shrink. Don't soften your shine. Instead, stand tall and remind the world, I am not here to fit in. I am here to leave an imprint. Because a woman who knows her worth doesn't chase respect, she attracts it. And that right there is the kind of confidence that makes her unforgettable. There's a difference between stroking a man's ego and speaking directly to the place where his true desires live. And once a woman learns that difference, she holds a power that can shift hearts, change minds, and leave a lasting impact he can't shake off. His ego, that's loud, shallow, always looking for validation. But his desires, that's where his truth lives. That's where you speak when you want to reach beyond surface level attraction and into his soul. Every man wants to feel like a king, yes. But not every man wants just praise. He wants purpose. He wants to be seen, not just admired. When you speak to his ego, you tell him what he wants to hear. But when you speak to his desires, you tell him what he never even realized he needed to hear. And that is unforgettable. Let's say you're on a date and he tells you about his business, his car, his gym routine. Most women nod and say, wow, that's impressive. And sure, that fuels his ego. But if you look him in the eye and say, that's great, but what are you building that will still matter in 10 years? Suddenly you're not a girl anymore. You're a mirror. You're a woman who challenges, who awakens, who touches the part of him that wants to matter. When you speak to a man's ego, he feels good for a moment. When you speak to his desires, he remembers you for life. In daily life, you'll see this play out everywhere. At work, for example, when your male colleague does something brilliant, don't just say, good job. Instead say, that solution shows how deeply you think. It's rare to see that level of precision and care. What you've just done is reach beyond the surface into his value system. You made him feel seen. That hits deeper than a million shallow compliments. Or in relationships, so many women chase validation thinking praise will keep a man close. But a wise woman, she watches. She understands what fuels him. Maybe he wants freedom. Maybe he craves legacy. Maybe he desires peace more than power. And when you look him in the